Hey everybody, this is Goose, and you're watching On With the Show. And I had a podcast all set to go. Yes, for today. I was getting it ready for today, and unfortunately, as sometimes happens, we got the news of the passing of Kyle Busch, which one of the reasons why I got my Kellogg's racing hat on today. And it was just one of those things where it's like the news was just so devastating and so incredibly. It's hard to describe. It's hard. It's one of those deaths where it's like you you wonder what happened, and you're wondering how this is going to affect everything later on with the NASCAR series this year. This is a deep loss for NASCAR and NASCAR fans in general. I'll explain a lot of this on the other side of this podcast. But for right now, I'm going to pull up the OBS. We're going to get into this podcast, into the story, and just hold your horses because this is deep for today. And as the headline goes from the NASCAR website, it's Kyle Busch, 1985 to 2026. It goes on to say Kyle Busch, a generational talent who rose to become a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, is one of the world's greatest drivers, died Thursday. He was 41 years old. Busch's death, which was announced by the Busch family in NASCAR and Richard Childress Racing, marked a sudden, staggering blow to the motorsports community. His team had indicated earlier Thursday that Busch had been hospitalized with a severe illness. Busch was in his 22nd full-time season in NASCAR's top division, where he won 2 Cup Series titles from 2015 and 2019, and 63 races, a figure that ranks 9th on the circuit's all-time win list. His numbers across the other 2 national NASCAR series are record-setting, with 102 victories in what is now called the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I think that's the former Busch Series. And 69 wins in the Craftsman Truck Series. So think about this. He 102 wins in what is now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, 69 wins in the Craftsman Truck Series, and 63 wins in the NASCAR series. That is the most, what they're saying is the most overall win total of any driver. The Busch family, Richard Childress Racing and NASCAR made the following joint statement, which says, on behalf of the Busch family and everyone at Richard Childress Racing and all of NASCAR, we are devastated to announce the sudden tragic passing of Kyle Busch. Our entire NASCAR family is heartbroken by the loss of Kyle Busch, future Hall of Famer, rare talent who comes along once in a generation. He was fierce and passionate and immensely skilled, and he cared deeply about the sports and his fans. Throughout a career that spanned more than 2 decades, Kyle set records in National Series wins, won net championships at NASCAR's highest level, creating his sharp wit and competitive spirit sparked deep emotional connection with race fans of every age, creating a proud and loyal Rowdy Nation. Our thoughts are with Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox, Kyle and Samantha's parents, Kurt, and Kurt Busch was his older brother, and all of Kyle's family, Richard and Judy Childress, everyone at Childress Racing, his teammates, friends, fans, NASCAR. It was just, to get this news right in the middle of the day was just absolutely, it was a gut punch. It's one of those things, especially when at the age of 41. You don't expect someone at the age of 41, especially someone like Kyle Busch, to pass. You just don't. It's like, and it seems to be, it's a crazy thing because as you go through, like even TMZ, other news agencies, you're finding that a lot of young athletes are passing away. It says their Busch drove for 3 Hall of Fame owners. In the Cup Series, started with Hendrick Motorsports, as heralded rookie in the stocks racing big leagues 2005. He joined Joe Gibbs Racing in 2008, establishing a long-running partnership that made him the face of Toyota's NASCAR endeavors. He spent the final stages of his career with Childress, arriving in 2023 and taking the reins of the number 8 Chevrolet, which, of course, number 8 belonged to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the longest time. In each phase of his career, Busch was a polarizing figure among fans, intensely popular for his adoring supporters, and booed loudly by his detractors. He entered the sport as a brash teenager with the nickname Shrub, as the younger brother of Hall of Famer Kurt Busch, but the alias of Rowdy. A nod to the main characters of Days of Thunder, and his aggressive style is what stuck with him. So yeah, he was kind of a polarizing figure. Here's how I got the news. This came to me on YouTube yesterday.
All right, folks, we're turning now to some breaking news from the sports world. This is not the update that we were hoping to get. Sports director Nick Carboni is joining us. You just learned some tragic news here.
Yeah, Vanessa, NASCAR has announced that star driver Kyle Busch has passed away at the age of 41. We heard earlier in the day from Richard Childress Racing and the Busch family that he had been hospitalized with a severe illness, but this is absolutely devastating, shocking, and tragic news for the sports world, for our local community, with all the Busches and Kyle have done through their various charity work. It's hard to process. Kyle Busch, one of the all-time greats in NASCAR history, a two-time champion. He leaves a lasting legacy. It is tough to even comprehend that he is leaving us at all.
On Thursday, Busch's family announced he'd been hospitalized with a serious illness and would miss this weekend's Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a staple on the NASCAR calendar. And his absence would have marked a rare moment. The last time Kyle Busch missed a Cup Series race was in 2015.
Ooh.
After a devastating crash at Daytona, he returned that same season to win the Cup Series championship, a testament to his resilience and drive. Just a kid from Las Vegas following his older brother Kurt's footsteps, Kyle Busch built a legacy few could match. Over a 22-year career, he won 234 races across NASCAR's top 3 series, the most in the sport's history. A 2-time Cup Series champion, fierce competitor, and one of his era's greatest characters, Kyle Busch leaves behind a lasting mark on the sport. And off the track, he was a devoted husband and father and advocate for others. He and his wife Samantha shared their journey through infertility, founding the Bundle of Joy Fund to help families facing similar challenges. Through the Kyle Busch Foundation, he also worked to support children in need across the country. He is survived by his wife Samantha and their 2 children, Brexton and Lennox. Kyle Busch was 41 years old.
Vanessa, like I mentioned, it's hard to process. We knew as of late this morning that Kyle Busch was hospitalized with a serious illness, that he would miss this weekend of racing, as I mentioned in that story. First time in over a decade that he will not be on the track in the Cup Series, but then for it to then progress to now we're breaking news that Kyle Busch has passed away at the age of 41 is just really difficult for a lot of people to fathom. You think of the other premature NASCAR deaths. Dale Earnhardt comes to mind. I mean, Kyle Busch is one of the greatest drivers of the modern era, one of the most famous drivers of this era, and combined with eras before him. It's going to be a somber weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I can tell you that right now. So we'll continue to look for reaction to this news, because it is widespread throughout NASCAR and the sports world. And just thinking of the Busch family right now, they've been so front and center with their charity work, with IVF, Bundle of Joy. We sat and with our reporters to discuss that before and how much that meant to them. And we saw a video there. He was present at Cats Walk for a Cause a couple of months ago, and they really threw themselves into that, even though it's not their specific charity. It's just heartbreaking and unimaginable.
Yeah, it's really tough news, and as you mentioned, just tough to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, I was at RCR at the shop 2 days ago, I was there for a story on Austin Dillon, but speaking with a couple of people that, handle some of Kyle's communications, and they were excited about an event at the Fillmore last night, which still went on. and things seem to be just normal, leading up to a normal race weekend here in Charlotte. But things have taken a tragic turn.
Yeah, so many different ways, I think, to maybe tell the story going forward, because I know you said you're going to try to get
we're going to talk.
speak.
This is Charlotte. This is, it's not the official headquarters of NASCAR, but this is where everybody makes their living in that sport, and is bonded to the Busches in some way. We just spoke to Kurt a couple of months ago as he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I remember asking him about Kyle. I mean, Kyle's a no-brainer to get in the Hall of Fame. 2 series championships. 63 Cup Series wins, top 10 all time in the modern era. It's just it is hard for people to process. I don't think it's going to happen right now, as we're just breaking this at 5:40 p.m. here on Thursday evening.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you giving us that update. As horrible and sad as it is,
Not a good one to
folks
get.
wanted to know what was going on. And folks, we will keep you updated as we learn more and as we continue to tell the story of his legacy now moving forward. Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break.
So that is from WCNC. Obviously, I'm thinking it's got to be in North Carolina. Just to keep going, but there are some more stuff, and I'm open. If you see me like swatting, for some reason, I don't know what's been going on, but we've been like inundated with flies, been coming. I'm finding out I'm not the only one that's having problems with them. So, but keeping on going, apparently it wasn't a shock. What I found out this morning was Kyle Busch asked for medical help during a race weeks before the shocking news. Right, Dylan Svoboda. This was written yesterday on the California Post. Kyle Busch was dealing with a sinus issue less than 2 weeks before his tragic death, at the age of 41. The legendary NASCAR driver requested medical attention in the waning moments of the Watkins Glen International on May 10th. Busch asked over the radio for a doctor to meet him in the race. And I've got a little bit of footage. I think we're going to go down to just a little bit. Can someone find Bill Heisel? He's a kindred doctor. Tell him I need him after the race. So let's just see what I can get. Here it is right here. Let's just go to this right here.
Kyle Busch has been suffering from a sinus cold all week. Lost 5 spots on that pit stop. He has asked to have medical attention available after the race. Here's his radio.
And we try to find Bill Heisel, the doctor guy. Tell him I need him after the race. I need one Mr. Bill at your car and extra bus after the race. But I'm going to need a shot. Copy. He'll be at your bus.
Racing can't be any fun when your head is completely stuffed up like that. It's the worst.
Excuse me. On May 16th, one day before he took the wheel at the All-Star race last Sunday, reporters, Busch told reporters his illness was still lingering. I think I've got that at Dunsters. It's still not great. Cough was pretty substantial last week. Yeah, here it is. This is it right here.
Do you feel better after whatever was bothering you in the car last week that you needed help for?
You can kind of still hear it. I'm still not great, but the cough was pretty substantial last week.
So he was suffering from something sinus related. Early Thursday, Busch abruptly pulled from the Coca-Cola 600 and was described as severe illness resulting in hospitalization. Just hours later, the shocking news of his death came from NASCAR. This is from TMZ. Kyle Busch, 911 audio reveals coughing blood day before death. It says here, Kyle Busch's medical emergency was partly revealed by 911 audio obtained by TMZ Sports, with a caller saying the NASCAR superstar was struggling to breathe, overheating and coughing up blood before medics rushed to help. During the emergency call, around 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, the caller urgently requests an ambulance to a training facility in Concord, North Carolina, telling dispatch, "I've got an individual that's shortness of breath, very hot. thinks he's going to pass out. He's producing a little bit of blood, coughing up some blood. So this wasn't just like a little sinus thing. This was really bad. The caller also confirmed the patient is still conscious at the time, repeating, telling dispatch, he is awake, he is awake, he is awake, which means, you know, I was going to play some of the audio for you, but it's just basically just a giant bleeped out because I heard it before I came on here. The Kyle was known to use this testing facility extensively since joining Richard Childress Racing, and according to the audio, he was lying on a bathroom floor inside the complex while employees prepared for paramedics to arrive. The caller even asked responding crews to shut off their sirens when approaching the building while explaining he would wait outside to flag them down at the entrance. As we reported, Busch was reported became unresponsive Wednesday while testing in a Chevrolet racing simulator just one day before his death. So they found him unresponsive in the simulator. He must have, like, when they got him out, he must have started complaining. He felt hot. He was overheated. They probably got him to the bathroom. They probably got him into a shower to probably try to cool him off. And that's probably as they were probably trying to get him to wake up. That's probably why he was saying he's awake, he's awake, he's awake, because he was unresponsive when they found him. The shocking collapse came less than 2 weeks after Busch reportedly requested medical assistance during a race weekend at Watkins Glen, where he had been dealing with what was described as a severe sinus-related illness. The crazy part is that he actually won a race just, last week. He won another race. I think it was a truck series race. And he was reported to have said, when someone asked him, how does it feel? He goes, you don't know when the last one will be. You don't know when the last win will be. She's like, does it ever get old? You don't know when the next win, you don't know when the last win will be. And unfortunately, that was his last win. And it's kind of crazy to hear that. It is heartbreaking to hear that. I'm going to pull out of OBS. I'm going to talk more about this on the other side of this, so just hold on. I will be right with you. So this is a lot of people are saying that this is going to leave a giant hole in NASCAR. It's kind of like, the guy I was talking about, Dale Earnhardt. I remember when Dale Earnhardt passed away. I was watching that race, as a matter of fact. And you see him go into the wall. You don't think, you don't think that Dale Earnhardt passes away in his car after a wreck. And it didn't even look like it was that much of a wreck. But of course, we come to find out later that the impact of the car to the wall, to apparently his body, his head. And when you have that much inertia, there's times where even the helmet is not going to save you. Even when you've got it, depending on the brute force of how hard you, and apparently they were saying he hit that wall pretty hard. Dale Earnhardt did, which interestingly enough led to, a lot of safety measures being implemented into NASCAR after his death. I think that's what with it implemented. I think one of the 5-point safety belt is one of the things that they talked about in some of the things I've seen after his passing. But this one is completely different. This one is, you have a guy who seemingly of all things seemingly looks like he's healthy, that he's going, and basically they're talking about that he was having sinus issues. Okay, just sinus cold. It's nothing. It's not a big. It's just a sinus cold. But it does kind of lead into what was really going on. There had to have been something, and I remember talking to just 2 or 3 people last night about this, and they're like, it sounds like he had a heart condition. It sounded like he had a cardiac issue, a cardiac event that led to this. They found him unresponsive in the simulator. They get him out. They call 911. He's overheating. He's coughing up blood. He's had this sinus issue for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks, because Watkins Glen was 2 weeks ago. And he still had it last weekend. You would think if it's a sinus issue that you would get antibiotics and it would it would take care of whatever it is, which makes me think it's more than just a sinus issue, which is kind of scary. But it's like, the mystery is that we're looking at something to where we can only presume, and I'm saying presume, what it could be. Because, again, when they said he was hospitalized for an illness, well, he's had, as we've seen in the reports, he's had this illness for at least 2 weeks, maybe a little longer. And so it feels like this is something that is more than just it's an illness and this suddenly happened. It feels like this was going back to me for a minute. I mean, because I want to tell you something very, very, very distinctly. When Kyle Busch said, you don't know when the last one will be, it hit me hard. It hit me very hard because last year I almost lost my life. Last year I found myself in the hospital, not once, but twice. I found where they had to put another. I have now 2 stents in my heart. I have a second stent put in my heart, and that was the first thing. It's like, that kind of like wakes you up enough where like, okay, I got to take better care of it. And then 2 weeks later, I'm back in the hospital, and I'm hospitalized for 6 weeks with an infection that went so bad that I went septic. And I had, at one point my arm had IVs in each arm, one with fluids, one with antibiotics. And they had to pump antibiotics in me 3 times a day for at least an hour. Strong antibiotics to the point where it's like they needed to continue to take blood samples from me to make sure that my kidneys and my liver weren't going to fail, especially my kidneys. Luckily, despite, I am a big guy, and people like you need to lose some weight. Trust me, I have been losing weight. I at one point got up to 330 pounds. I haven't seen a scale in a couple of weeks because it mysteriously disappeared in my house. Somebody has it. But I haven't stepped on a scale in at least 2 or 3 weeks, so I have no idea how much I weigh now. But I've been a lot more active. I've been doing a lot of walking. I've been, and my leg hurts from it, but I need to do it. I need to get the weight off. And when the doctor sat there, and of course I have this massive thing on my leg from this infection, and he's like, it's a good thing you came in, Mr. Scott, because if you hadn't, you would have passed away in a few days. Now, the one thing we can gather is that the infection happened because of my heart, because they put the catheter, and it wasn't even in the spot, it was near the spot. But they're like, no, even then, it's like there's always the possibility of an infection. And those kind of things scare you enough to where you're like, okay, I need to make some change. Because again, for me, this could be, not to sound morbid, this could be the last podcast I do. This could be the last time you see me on YouTube. This could be, it's kind of and I think what Kyle Busch was saying, you don't want to take anything for granted. Every win is a good win. Every win is something to celebrate. Everything is a really good to you know, because you don't know when the last time will be. Every hug, every kiss, every birthday, every vacation, every whatever could be the last. So make it memorable and enjoyable. Enjoy it. And I don't want to get too morbid here because, even though we're talking about the death of Kyle Busch and and the crazy part is, I'm not even a big NASCAR guy. I mean, my mom got me into NASCAR. My dad got me into NASCAR. They were big Tony Stewart fans. My son is a big Jeff Gordon fan. I was a big Jimmy Johnson fan. But I love other, we live in Bakersfield, so of course, this is Kevin Harvick country here. Kevin Harvick's the big NASCAR guy here. But I loved other drivers. I loved Kevin Harvick too. I loved Greg Biffle, Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte. I loved Dale Jarrett, and even, times I loved watching Kyle Busch drive. And you watch these guys. And I know, I've heard it said that watching NASCAR on TV is the greatest 3-hour nap I've ever had. I've heard that said, because all they do is they're driving around in a circle, basically, that's all they pretty much, it's not like Fast and the Furious where they're tearing up the streets of LA. Which, interestingly enough, I would not mind seeing a NASCAR race through the streets of some city, LA or Detroit or Chicago or, San Francisco. Can you imagine a NASCAR race in the hills and come up down to San Francisco? But, what we really want to see, if you want to see what's going to happen, who's going to wreck out. We're going to see the big wreck, and we're going to see the cars crashing all over the place. And I've been to some races where it's like, you've seen that happen, and it's crazy. It's crazy. But, excuse me, again, sorry. But this is going to hurt. This is really, 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 really going to hurt. Because just like when Dale Earnhardt passed away in the middle of a race, at the end of a race, it left a giant hole in the sport. This is going to leave a giant hole in the sport of NASCAR. And yeah, he's definitely going to be going into the Hall of Fame, whatever, NASCAR Hall of Fame. He should. Look at all of his accomplishments. It's only right. It's only fair that this should happen. But this was a devastating thing that happened to the sport, just in general. And we're going to have to sit back and wait to see if there was more to this sinus condition that we thought. Again, the way my brain works, the first thing when I hear what happened, the first thing I run to is a cardiac event. Especially if you have a guy who's overheating, who's not being able to breathe, who's coughing up blood. This definitely sounds like a cardiac event to me. We're not going to know until we get the autopsy of Kyle Busch. But it also, makes you kind of wonder, was this sinus thing a precursor to what's going on? What happened to him? What happened to him? And we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait to see what happens. And, as Tom Petty once said, the waiting is the hardest part, especially with something like this. Anyway, I have talked enough about this today. I'm gonna, like I said, I had a podcast all set for today. You're gonna see that tomorrow, yeah, this is I don't know how to end this. I don't know how to end this other than to say, if you haven't already, go down and subscribe to the channel. Bang the bell for notifications. Bang, bang, bang the bell for notifications. So you always know when new videos are uploaded, when a new podcast is put on YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. Let me know that you like this video, because it does help me with the algorithm, and it also tells me that these are the kind of stories that you want me to talk about. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here with the show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment. Leave me a comment about this. How hard is this going to be on the sport of NASCAR? Because I already can tell you it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. All right. I am Goose. You've been watching On With The Show. Thank you so much. I will see you all on the other side.